Well, hello again. Picked up some new glasses this morning, so hopefully you can see me more clearly. So what's been happening this week in the world of the piffle peddlers? Well, it's getting more and more pathetic, perhaps unsurprisingly. It was complete and utter rubbish before, and it's getting more and more pathetic every time I look at one of these YouTube channels. I'm trying to get comfy in the lawn chair here. One of these channels that's putting out all this rubbish. I was unfortunate enough to see Jon Stewart, you know, the rubber alien interview, the guy that's pushing that as being real, on one of the channels being interviewed, and he said, "Oh, I don't care, I've had enough of all this UFO stuff. Next year on my birthday, I'm giving it up. I'm not having anything more to do with UFOs." And I thought, well, let's just hope your birthday is January the 1st, Mr. Stewart. Peddling all kinds of rubbish. I've said it before. Just put a line through Jon Stewart. It's a complete waste of time. Now, Lou Elizondo said he's the Darth Vader of Guantanamo Bay. Now, last week I went, got some questions for you, buddy. I thought he might have had trouble with his breathing. But what he's actually talking about is, do you remember the scene in Star Wars where, I think it's close to the beginning of the film, where Vader, and there's Peter Cushing there as Admiral Targ or whatever his name is. I'm not a huge, I like Star Wars, but I'm not a fan, fanboy as such. And so one of the people sitting around the table, one of the generals, I think it is, says, you know, you can't impress us with your ancient religions and all this, that, and the other, Vader. And then Vader sort of looks at him, and this guy starts going, and then Admiral Targ says, "Release him, Vader." And he goes, "As you wish." Oh no, first of all, that's right, Vader says, "I find your lack of faith disturbing," or something like that, yeah. And Vader releases him and he goes, because he doesn't physically touch him. So, you know, we're told that Lou Elizondo can do that. He can use his telekinetic power to crush somebody's larynx. I mean, one or two people spring to mind in the piffle peddling world that could well do with their larynxes being crushed. Cut down on the claptrap factor. So, I saw this other thing. This is a regurgitated thing from, I don't know whether it's from the 90s or from the early 2000s, but it's a guy called Dan Burrich, and he's talking about this, his interactions with an ET called J-Rod. Well, they called the ET J-Rod. He said the reason for that is that J-Rod, in some language, is 15. Some ancient language is 15. Because he comes from the Gliese star system, and it's 15 light years away. Well, Gliese star system is 20 light years away, so not terribly appropriate there, is it? Now, I don't find this guy remotely convincing. What really gives him away as being a complete fraud, just like Bob Lazar, is even George Knapp says Burrich is a fantasist. That's George Knapp, who pushes the Bob Lazar story, which we know is nonsense. If you want to see the Bob Lazar story played out as someone else, I did a video a while back where I play a character called Norman. And Norman tells his life story, but it's actually the life story of Bob Lazar. So if you're interested, just go back and have a look at that. And you'll see how ridiculous it sounds. So J-Rod the ET, S4, yeah, it's all nonsense. Put a line through it. There's zero credibility there. There's zero tangible evidence to prove any of it's real. And even George Knapp says Dan Burrich is not credible. The master of putting stuff forward that's not credible says he's not credible, so he must be seriously not credible. Actually, George Knapp apparently said Burrich is a manipulative, egocentric phony baloney, goofball, and you can quote me on that. And he wrote that apparently in UFO magazine, volume 19, and number 4, if you want to go and check it out. I didn't, to be honest. It looks right enough to me. Okay, so apparently J-Rod, the ET, was the only survivor of a UFO crash 8 miles northeast of Kingman Airport in the Arizona desert back in 1953. It was the 21st of May 1953. Supposedly this ET craft crashed. Now Burridge said it was back in the 60s when I saw him being interviewed. It was the Kingman crash back in the 60s. Maybe Kingman Airport or Kingman, Arizona, just sucks in all these ET craft, you know, like dustbins sticking to a big electromagnet. The UFO was supposedly metallic. So I've said before, well, there's not going to be any metal in an alien spacecraft. They're going to be super exotic, low mass material, synthetic materials we can't even imagine. So it was 30 feet wide and 3.5 feet tall. Now this is interesting. Listen to these dimensions, okay? It was 3.5 feet tall and 30 feet in diameter, this saucer, okay? And the crew were described as being 4 feet tall. So you got 4 foot tall aliens in a 3.5 foot tall spacecraft. So to be flying around the galaxy like that. Oh, are you all right? You all right over there, McGray? Yeah, I'm all right, Blue. Yeah. You steering with your toes, all right, mate? Yeah, yeah. It's pathetic nonsense, isn't it? And supposedly the craft crashed into the ground at 1,200 miles an hour. And it's stuck in the ground like that, you know, just like the image described by Terry Sheehan. 1,200 miles an hour, stuck in the ground, yeah, and apparently undamaged. It gets worse and worse, doesn't it? It gets more and more pathetic with every line I read. I said to you before, you know, look at a plane crash. You can't even tell what model plane it was. You know, if you look at an airliner crash, there's just bits everywhere. You never ever see an airliner sticking out of the ground at 45 degrees, do you? Having fallen from 30,000 feet. So no apparent damage, and it was just sticking out of the ground, and it just put a line through this Kingman UFO crash, and J-Rod. It's just complete and utter rubbish. And the other thing too is, if you look at the J-Rod video, it's got all the ingredients of a fake alien video, just like every other alien video you see. You know, it's very poor quality. You know, there's no sound. You know, they're all the ingredients of a fake video. A video where you will see the detail if it's well lit, where you will realise it's not a real alien if it's got a soundtrack. Just like the rubbish John Stewart pedals. Complete and utter nonsense, you know, with the blip going up and down. And I've shown it's just Commodore Garden oscilloscope with the time base turned off. And he's talked to all these PhDs that can't figure out how to get an instrument that does that. Yeah. And I saw the Skinny Bob video as well. Has anyone seen that? Skinny Bob, supposedly another alien, E.T. And that is exactly the same. You know, it's very, very poor video quality, no soundtrack. The only sound on it is a projector running sound. So, you know, the gating sound of a projector. Now, when you look at the video of Skinny Bob, the video quality is shocking. You know, but if you listen to the frame rate of the projector, it sounds like the video quality should be a lot better than the frame rate we're hearing. So I think that projector running sound is dubbed onto that. So Skinny Bob, another load of rubbish, just like J-Rod, put a line through it. Now, what I thought was quite amusing about the Skinny Bob video is that it's supposedly a Russian film. It's supposedly a KGB. It's supposedly a KGB film, Skinny Bob. Now, why is he called Skinny Bob if it's a Russian film? Why isn't he called Skinny Vlad? You know? Why a Western name if it's a KGB film? Yeah, it's an obvious fake. Skinny Bob, obvious fake. J-Rod, obvious fake. Put a line through both of those. Complete and utter rubbish. And apparently there's trouble brewing in paradise. Eric Davis says Danny Sheehan's Golden Domes claim is bullshit. So, Danny Sheehan was saying, oh yeah, we've got this system, it's highly secret. It's called Golden Domes, where we track UFOs and we shoot them down. ET craft and shoot them down. I should differentiate between UFOs and ET craft. People see UFOs. We have zero tangible evidence that one of them is an ET craft. Now, so Eric Davis, oozing with credibility, of course, Dr. Davis, should be subpoenaed and be told to show tangible evidence of his ridiculous claims. Says Danny Sheehan's talking a lot of bullshit. And Danny Sheehan is saying that the Skinwalker Ranch guys are talking a lot of bullshit because there's no alien spacecraft buried under Skinwalker Ranch, and he laughed. So, trouble in paradise. The UFO fanboys are now at each other's throat. Danny Sheehan's getting strangled by Eric Davis. It's bullshit. And Fugel being strangled by Danny Sheehan. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. The Skinwalker Ranch is bullshit. It is, of course. I mean, and I had a look at this other thing they're doing. Really, Travis Taylor should know better. It's complete and utter rubbish. Skinwalker Ranch. Put a line through it. Put a line through Blind Frog Ranch. Complete and utter crap. It's all drivel. Without tangible evidence to support any of these crazy claims, it's science fiction rubbish. Okay, so yeah, there's nothing going on at Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, I'd go and stay there, no problem at all. I wouldn't even ask if I could borrow a gun. You know, I'll be sitting there reading a Beano. Yeah. Go to bed 11 o'clock. That'll be it. Nothing would happen. Oh, I saw something quite interesting. They've got all this instrumentation, you know, we're detecting these vibrations in the ground, you know, this radiation level and all this. What they don't mention is that the Skinwalker Ranch is surrounded by fracking operations, which are going to put vibrations into the ground. They're going to release gas, you know, radiation, probably radon gas, methane, you know, there's perfectly natural explanation for what they are finding. What they don't do is say, these are the readings we got on Skinwalker Ranch. These are readings we got from a BLM land just up the road, outside of Skinwalker Ranch. These are the readings we got there. These are our control readings. This is what normal readings would look like. This is the readings we're getting at Skinwalker Ranch. And if they went the other side of the fracking operation, they're going to get the same readings, depending on which way the wind's blowing with the radiation, with the radon gas or whatever, the radioactive gas and the methane. The vibrations in the ground and everything else, they're going to be the same. Why don't you do that, Mr. Taylor, with your scientific crew? Get some control readings from outside the ranch, but not so far away, the same distance from the fracking operations that are going on around Skinwalker Ranch. Ross Coulthard, our old mate Mr. Coulthard, who thinks aliens are flying around the galaxy engineering artifacts using imperial weights and measures. God, this ball, it's heavy, unbelievably heavy. Puts it on the scale, weighs exactly 50 pounds. £50 is not unbelievably heavy, Mr. Coulthard. 50 tons would be. And it weighs exactly £50. What does that tell you? Tells me it's a ball check valve made in the good old US of A. Anyway, Ross Coulthard said he's going to spill the beans. Baked beans? In Coulthard's case, there'll be half-baked beans. It's half-baked stories. Yeah, I mean, he's got no beans to spill. He might have been told a couple of stories that he chooses to believe, but if he repeats any of these science fiction stories as fact, without tangible evidence to back them up, that's all they are. They're science fiction stories. It's complete and utter rubbish. He's been told who the first-hand witnesses are, but he's not going to tell us. Again, you know, that's huge red flag, complete lack of credibility. He knows these people. If he identifies them, they'll be found out to be fantasists and bullshitters overnight almost. So he's not going to name them. He's not going to spill the beans on these people. The alien spacecraft that crashed outside of the US, it was so big they had to put a building over it, says Coulthard. That's what he's been told. He knows exactly where it is, but he's not going to tell us. Because he knows someone will go there and have a look and say, it's a roller park, you know, it's whatever it is. It's a tyre factory, you know. What it won't be will be an alien spacecraft with a building over it. Coulthard knows this, otherwise he'd spill the beans, wouldn't he? Get it over and done with. He'd be the one that would go down in history to be the person that said, yes, we are not alone. Here is the evidence that we are not alone in the galaxy. Investigative journalism at its best, Mr. Coulthard. Investigate and keep the results of the investigation to yourself. That's what investigative journalism is all about. Absolute rubbish. Complete and utter rubbish. Is this the best these people can do, you know? I'm going to spill the beans. I know who these people are, you know. Black and white films with no soundtracks, and you can barely see what's going on the films. You know, the alien interview is the same. It's dimly lit, no soundtrack. It's the same as Skinny Bob. It's the same as J-Rod. They all have to be like that, because otherwise you'll notice they're faked. They're bullshit. And the alien autopsy, supposed to be done in 1949, there's a phone on the wall with a plastic coily cord. You know, ridiculous and rubbish. So if anybody could be the person that goes down in history as the person that announced we're not alone in the galaxy, the monumental announcement, can you grasp the size of that announcement? Anybody would do it. If I was working on one of these projects and I could smuggle out a piece of ET material, I would spill the beans. I would make a ton of money, and my name, Mr. S. Mumbling, would go down in the history books against that monumental discovery, that monumental announcement. Not one of these people do that. It's because it's all rubbish. It's because they can't. When you look at these people, it's all very incestuous, this UFO ET business. You know, you've got a guy involved with founding the TTSA, telling us all it's real, the minivan guy, you know, the ex-CIA guy, you know, and he knows Lou Elizondo. They all know each other. It's a piffle peddling company. That's what it is. Bullshit Pty Limited. What do they call them in America? LLC. Complete and utter bullshit. LLC. That's all it is, and it's getting more and more pathetic every week. It's hard finding stuff to talk about because there's stuff out there that's so pathetic I won't even watch it. Stuart was saying, oh yeah, my favourite YouTubers are, and he named these two YouTubers, both of them are dyed-in-the-wool fanboys that are incapable of critical thinking. They just swallow all the rubbish, broadcast it as truth without an ounce of critical thinking. And when it comes to this, it's so unlikely that this planet is being visited by extraterrestrials. Critical thinking is a must. You have to apply critical thinking. Anyone can swallow all this rubbish. You see people putting out YouTube videos, they've got a poster in the background saying, "I want to believe." Why? Why would someone want to believe ET is coming here? I don't believe ET is coming here. I don't want to believe ET is coming here. But if someone showed me tangible evidence that ET is coming here, I'd say, okay, fair enough. ET is coming here. I wouldn't be happy about it though. We will be completely at their mercy. If extraterrestrials are on this planet, we would be completely and utterly at their mercy. They could do what they liked with impunity with who they liked. So I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe they're here. But all these fanboys do. And the two that Stuart named are a complete and utter waste of time. Absolute waste of time. Dyed-in-the-wool fanboys. It doesn't matter how many times you tell them, you know, it's all rubbish. They're never going to believe it. They're like the fake moon landing people, you know. There's tons of evidence, overwhelming evidence that the Apollo moon landings were real. And you see these people get slaughtered on YouTube when they come up against someone with actual facts. You know, I took 3 of them on and ground them into dust. But they don't correct their arguments. They don't look it up and say, oh yeah, well, he's right about that. Oh yeah, we better make it. And that, yeah. Oh, and that too. Yeah, we better make a video to just correct that, you know. They keep repeating the same arguments that have been debunked and debunked and debunked and debunked and debunked over and over again. And every time they do it, they look more ridiculous. So, if you're really interested in researching this subject, keep away from the fanboys. You know, just don't bother with them, you know. It's complete and utter rubbish. Arrow said they've looked into every program and every compartment. There's nothing there. Arrow was set up to investigate this. You know, who do these people want to tell their stories to? I've said before, Sean Kirkpatrick's gone. They didn't trust Kirkpatrick. Now they have to not trust Arrow as a whole because it doesn't matter who they put in there. They don't want to talk to Arrow. The worst whistleblowers in the history of whistleblowing. They're whistleless whistleblowers. They're never ever going to tell their stories to anybody that can check those stories out, because they'll be revealed to be bullshitters immediately, overnight. I guarantee it. Just take my word for it. You can look at all the videos on YouTube and then look at mine and see what I'm saying. In 5 years' time, who's going to be right, them or me? I guarantee it will be me that's right. There'll be no disclosure because ET's not coming here. It's all science fiction rubbish. No whistleblowers would have come forward. There'll always be an excuse, you know. It's like Gary Nolan with deGrasse Tyson saying he won't debate him, you know. Gary Nolan. Because Gary Nolan knows deGrasse Tyson would destroy him within minutes with the ridiculous claims that Gary Nolan makes with his ETs in the bedroom. The ET, you know, when he was just about to start work as a professor at Stanford, appeared in his bedroom, spoke to him telepathically. What kind of bullshit is that? Gary Nolan doesn't seem to realise that is the equivalent of him going to a big medical conference, someone standing up on the stage on a lectern in front of all these medical academics and saying, I can cure every kind of cancer there is with a bowl of custard. Now, would Nolan take that person seriously? Yet the person saying that he can cure cancer with custard is orders of magnitude more likely to be telling the truth than anybody telling you extraterrestrials are coming here, that we're interacting with several species of extraterrestrials. Sort of bullshit you hear at the Sol Foundation, you know, from an admiral no less. How do you know, Admiral? Oh, somebody told me, you know. Complete and utter rubbish. It's a joke, all of it. So, yeah, I think that's about it for this week. I might have gone over the half hour again. So no one's interacting. No one on Earth is interacting with extraterrestrials. There are not many species interacting with us. If there are, prove it. Show us some tangible evidence, or it's science fiction rubbish. This is such a fantastic claim. Show us some tangible evidence. You can cure cancer with custard? Show us. Okay, well, I think that'll do. If I see anything else over the weekend, I'll do another video as usual. You know, I might bang out another one tomorrow if I see anything that's particularly amusing. But very, 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 it's getting more and more pathetic every day. Less and less substance every day. I've been looking into this since the 70s. The deeper I look, the less I find. It's all complete and utter rubbish. Well, if you struggled through the video all the way to this point, as usual, many thanks for watching. I hope you could see me a lot clearer with my new glasses, and maybe I'll catch you again.